I will live and die on this hill that Deion Sanders is not a bad coach, but he's not a good coach either. In the 3 seasons that he has been at Colorado, he has shown the ability to be a really good talent evaluator. He's really good at making good additions out of the transfer portal. He's pretty good recruiting as well. We've seen him get blue chip guys like Jordan Seaton, Travis Hunter, Juju Lewis. So Deion Sanders' recruiting ability, his talent evaluation ability isn't really a problem. The issue with Deion is he has too many friends on his coaching staff. And with Deion being more of a CEO style coach, a lot of his success is tied to his assistant coaches. And if you don't have a good coaching staff, you whiff on your coordinator hires, it brings guys like Deion Sanders down. And that's what the root of the issue is for Colorado at the moment. Colorado has a staff full of Deion Sanders friends. And I'm not saying that all of these guys aren't good coaches, but a good amount of these guys are in over their head. Like Pat Shurmur never should have been the offensive coordinator for Colorado this season. He got carried last season due to how good Shedeur and Travis Hunter were, along with the other talented receivers that Colorado had on that side of the football. This year, you've seen the limitations that this offense has because Pat Shurmur is just a piss poor play caller. Caden Salter was one of the best quarterbacks coming out of the G5. I thought that he was a very good pickup out of the portal for Colorado. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out because he's in an offense that isn't really predicated around what he does well, which is run the football, RPOs, read option, design QB runs. He's in the same offense that Shedeur was in, and both of these quarterbacks have 2 different styles of play. Shedeur is your prototypical drop back passer. I'm going to carve you up from within the pocket. Caden Salter, his game is more so predicated off his ability to run and throw outside the pocket, being able to improvise. When things break down, he's able to still make something happen. And Pat Shurmur doesn't have the ability to adjust his play calling with the personnel that he has, which was his downfall when he was the head coach of the Giants and the offensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos. And if you follow Pat Shurmur's career when he was calling plays in the league, you would know that he was never a good play caller. So it's no surprise that Colorado's offense has been as bad as what it's been this year, to the point when they had negative 18 yards of offense at halftime and their blowout loss against Utah. And if Deion Sanders is going to have success at Colorado, he has to get a lot more serious with how he goes about picking guys on his coaching staff, because a lot of his success is tied to his staff. His defensive coordinator is really good. Yes, the defense has regressed a lot, but that's more so due to the offense being really inefficient. When your offense can't really sustain drives and your defense is on the field for more plays than what they should be, and you don't have a lot of depth at a lot of areas on defense, then you're going to get worn down and you're going to give up a lot of points. And with the talent that Deion had, not just on offense, but on defense last year, not being able to retain those guys like Nakai Hill-Green, who left for Alabama, Colton Hill, who did for Tennessee, it also makes it difficult for Deion Sanders to have success at a school like Colorado consistently, because Colorado doesn't have a big NIL budget. They don't have a lot of million-dollar billionaire donors who can just drop 30, 50 million per season on the roster. As a matter of fact, Shedeur and Travis Hunter, they took NIL money out of their own pockets to pay for a good amount of the players that were on last year's team. So that means that Deion Sanders has to make sure that every season from this point out, he has one of the best coaching staffs in the Big 12, because you can overcome not having as talented as a roster, not as expensive as a roster as a school like, let's say, Texas Tech, who poured $28 million into this team this year, which is the second most expensive roster in college football. If you have a good coaching staff, as long as you have a roster that isn't too far off, you can punch up like we've seen Curt Cignetti do at Indiana. Indiana beat Oregon despite not being a more talented team than them because of how good of a head coach and how good of a coaching staff Curt Cignetti was able to assemble. But it's not all about the staff. It's also about being able to get quarterback right. And even though I put more so of the blame on Pat Shurmur than what I do for Kaidon Salter for why the offense has been what it's been, you know, Kaidon Salter just isn't really that good throwing the football. With Juju Lewis next year, if Deion Sanders does the right thing and does what we all know he should do and move on from Pat Shurmur, he brings in a better offensive coordinator, then I think that you will see Colorado have much more success. CEO coaches got to have two things to win: a good staff and good quarterback play. And if you miss on one of those two, or you miss on just both of them, you're going to have a hard time winning a lot of games. And Deion has shown the ability to recruit well and assemble good talent out of the transfer portal. I don't really think talent necessarily is the issue for why Colorado's third season under Coach Prime has been as bad as what it's been, because the majority of their games have been decided by one possession. Yeah, they've had a few ugly losses, like against Utah, but Utah has been one of the best well-ran programs in America for over a decade. Kyle Whittingham is one of the longest tenured coaches in college football for a reason. But losing to TCU by double digits was a little bit surprising. But outside of those two games, like, Colorado has been in every game that they played in this year, but the difference has been the coaching staff and quarterback play. And oftentimes, close games are decided by those two things. And Deion has to have good quarterback play and good staff hires in order to win. And that's kind of what's holding him back as a head coach. And next year is really going to be the make or break season that really tells us if Deion is ever going to be able to have a lot of big time success, like how a lot of us thought he would have when he first took this job. Because I also think what we underestimated is Deion Sanders' star power being able to lure recruits. Just because you're a Hall of Famer and you're one of the best ever doesn't necessarily mean that recruits are going to flock to you. If you don't have the money, guys don't care who you are. You could be Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, but if you're not dishing out the figures that they're looking for, they're not going to take a discount to play for you. Now, certain guys like Jordan Seaton, Travis Hunter, who really love Deion Sanders, who have a lot of admiration for him, those are the guys that are going to be the blue chip guys that are going to be willing to play for Deion on a discount. But there's not a lot of Jordan Seatons around. Jordan Seaton turned down six-figure NIL offers at big-time universities. Like Maryland, for example, was making a big push to sign and flip Jordan Seaton at National Signing Day a few years ago. But Jordan Seaton ultimately stayed committed to Deion Sanders, and he's committed to not just turning around Colorado, but he wants to be coached up by one of the greatest ever. I think that it's unrealistic to expect a lot of these recruits to have the same mentality that guys like Travis Hunter and Jordan Seaton have, because you can't really get mad at these recruits for following the money, because a lot of the time it's the parents who are behind those decisions, because this is life-changing money. Are you going to turn down six figures to play for Deion Sanders when you can get this life-changing money right now? We live in an instant gratification society. Yes, playing for Deion Sanders may give you a better chance at getting that generational contract at the next level in the NFL, but a lot of people are short-sighted. A lot of people don't have the ability to see past anything that's not in the moment. So when it comes to recruiting and when it comes to the geographic location that Deion Sanders is at right now, it's not the easiest for Colorado to always put together a team as good as what you saw in 2024. But as long as the coaching staff is good and you get the quarterback situation right, you can overcome not having as talented as a team as other teams in your conference. And Deion has to get that right. And until Deion is willing to hire a staff that does include a bunch of his buddies from the league and also a bunch of NFL guys, because there's also a misconception that if you hire a bunch of NFL coaches, they're going to dominate college football because they're perceived to have so much better understanding of the game than a bunch of these college coaches. There's a bunch of college coaches that probably will coach circles around Pat Shurmur. You know, like if you take TCU's offensive coordinator and you put him on Colorado in replace of Pat Shurmur, this probably is a way better offense. Hell, Sean Lewis, who was Deion Sanders' first offensive coordinator, is having a lot of success at San Diego State. He would be much better than Pat Shurmur. And I never felt like he should have gotten demoted to begin with. I felt like Deion Sanders just kind of jumped the gun with that. So the two big things that's going to define if Deion Sanders truly is a bad coach or a good coach in 2026 is going to be how good of a staff he can put together. And if Deion is truly serious about winning at Colorado, you can't be assembling the staff full of friends and family. You're going to have to hire some guys that you don't really know too much about from the college level and the NFL level as well. And that's what it's going to take in order for Deion to truly be able to have sustainable success, to have a program that can consistently compete for the Big 12 championship year in and year out. But I don't think that Deion is a bad coach. He can recruit very well. He's a very good motivator. I don't think the team is ever going to quit on Deion Sanders. I do think that these players play hard for Deion, which is very rare because the majority of Colorado's team is built through the transfer portal. And normally when you have a team that is heavily constructed from the portal, when the season goes the way that it has, guys normally throw in the towel. Look what's happening with Mike Norvell at Florida State. You don't really see that being the case at Colorado. Like, I don't think Colorado lost to Utah because the players showed no heart, because they were lacking in effort. Utah just was the outright better team. They have several guys on the offensive line and defensive line that are going to be top 50, top 75 picks in next year's draft. Deion just got outmatched in that game. As he said, that's the worst butt whooping that he ever got since he was getting butt whoopings from his mama as a jit. I think next year should be a way better team, and ultimately it's going to be decided by if Deion is willing to make the necessary changes on this staff that need to be made.